All right, well, welcome back to another Haunted Dollhouse. This episode, I'm gonna get into the roof. It shouldn't take as long. I'm gonna basically do a bit of dry scumbling, dry brushing, and then just some techniques with a flick brush. I just wanna get a sort of an older shale effect to this. So we already have a black sealed rooftop. And then I'm just gonna take a little bit of white and then a gray and just sort of do a flick on that. And then on top of that, I'll probably take the airbrush and give it like just some more washes, sort of like what I did on the siding. And I may even show, and I will actually, I'll say this, I will show some techniques in doing a little bit of flicking on the house. I just think that, you know, doing a bit of flicks and stuff like that, it gives it a bit of depth too. So we'll try that now. All right, let's get into the roof. I'll just give it the workshop's quite dirty, so I'll just give it just a quick wipe back. And I'll just take a little bit of white, a little bit of black, and make a gray, like a mid-tone gray, 50-50. And I'll just basically just blot it on back and forth. And I'll just take my towel and kind of knock it back as well. So this is kind of scumbling. You take a rough brush, rough bristle brush, and then just dab it into your paint, and it's almost dry, really. And you just kind of scumble around. That's the term, scumbling. And you want to put a bit of variance in it. Different sort of weights of the paint. Yeah, we're meant to look like old tiles. Now it looks like it has like a wooden sort of grain in the plastic originally, but I wanted to make it look like old slate. And if I go too heavy, just quickly get down there with a rag. Use a bit of, just a bit dirtier sort of water into it. You can see it's given it some depth too, doesn't it? So even underneath the edges of those tiles, it really makes it pop more. It's not so flat. And get into every little bit we can. We're just giving it this whole thing in aging. The whole idea of this project is just an aging process for this thing. There's so much storytelling you can do with it if you wanted to. If this was like a movie prop, you know, there's sort of storylines that could go with it. And I've been looking off Pinterest just to get different ideas of abandoned houses. I'm not really looking at doll houses, but I look at real things. That's the best source. Still scumbling around. Not uniform, just I'm taking the brush, this bristle brush, and just sort of twisting it. So I'm dabbing and twisting. And the paint isn't too wet. It's kind of, it'll be drying really soon. So you can kind of see that it's got different texture to it. Another thing you can do is just kind of barely hit the edge of whatever you're painting, just kind of licking it basically. And that'll give a nice highlight to that edge. You can see. Something going on there, that's good. Just makes it look older and older every time I do. A little bit of really watery black here. Just keeping it gray. Gray washes. Oop, sticking to the table. Then I'll use this bigger bristle brush that I've cut. It's normally about that long, about 2 inches long or so. And then I just scissored it right down so the bristles are really stiff. And then you can take kind of wet and kind of dry. It's a fine art to do a bit of flicking. So you take a bit of paint all over the bristles and then you kind of flick it like so. And that'll give it a nice speckled effect. And if you get too heavy, just take your towel and just knock it back. I'm just gonna keep flicking on top of that roof. And dabbing that back. And then I'll twist this. Just lock it so it doesn't come apart. You can see on my palette, that's a real washy effect. Take a little bit off onto the towel. And then I'll just keep flicking on top. Everywhere. And then I'll knock it back. It sort of fades in and out, really. What this will do later will give us, when we get into the next episode, which will be the flocking the grass on it, moss, and it'll just give it a little bit of a highlight. If you look at real rooftops, they always got like lichen and different little mosses and fungus growing on things. This will just help give a bit of a highlight. I'll come around to this side and give it a little bit more flicking so everything is, I don't want to say even, because it'll look weird if it's just even. And then knock that back. All right, now I'll just take this little one again and just do a little bit of scumbling. Just a little heavier in some areas. Dry brush the edges. Come on. It's a bit heavy. But then just knock it back. It's kind of difficult to see to the camera. I'll tip it down this way. That might help too. I can sort of lean over. Keep flicking. I like the flicking effect too on top of this. Sun-baked. Just light flicking. There'll be, variances in the little splashes. That's okay, because that's what it would be in real life. If something was weathered down. Let's keep flicking. That's probably gonna be really watery, so I'll knock that back, but maybe a little bit too much on the glass. It can get a bit splashy. Towards the camera a bit. That's looking pretty cool. I don't think I need to overdo it on that. Then what I can do now, you can see some flecks in here. I'll just show you what I did there. It's basically the same as the white and the gray. Is I'll take a bit of washed out brown. And just anywhere you see the white, just give it a flick. Just gives it a muddier effect. Almost like mold. Is this reading on the camera? Like that? Up in those areas too. There, let's give it a nice Nice effect there. Still flicking, just sort of around the base. And off camera, I've taken a bit of airbrush and just did more washes on it, just to save some time. And I'm gonna take a bit of this brown now with a bit of black. And I'll hit the roof again as well, just for a bit of color. So it's not just black and white. And a little bit of that black. All right. I think that's the flecking and the scumbling part of this segment. I'm going to take a little bit of airbrush in a minute, and I'll set that up now, and then we'll come back to that. Cool. All right, so now I got the airbrush going again, and I'm just going to do what I've done here around around the windows, is give like a sense of, you know, it's the water has kind of leaked down. It'll give it a nice sort of texture. I don't know if it's a texture, but I give it definitely a weathered effect. So I'm just using this watered down black again that I used previously on the sides. So we're back into this, and just gonna give it almost like stripes, like the water's run down and affected some areas and not of others. It's kind of up to you what you want to do if you're going to do something like this. Just giving more layers. Not going to do heaps, just a few bits here and there. Might spray underneath these a bit just to give it a little bit of dimension. Kind of see it there. I'm not going to do a whole lot. I'm just going to do a few. Let the water run down and probably do something like that. Cool up. A little bit on this side as well, just a couple. I don't need a bunch. And that's all I'm really going to do with this airbrush. So a little bit in there. There, that's got a nice bit of dimension now. Really aged it up. All right. And I think the next bit we'll do is we'll get into some details we can add now. I'm going to add some gutters and some downspouts that are busted away. And I got some ideas to show you for that. And then the next episode, I think we're going to get into the flocking part of it. So actually put some grasses and more details and some vines. I'll let that paint run a bit too. I like that effect, spidering it out. I'm just blasting it with a bit of paint. It's really watery, so it just spatters everywhere. And then you can knock it back. And this gives a randomness to the water and the paint. There's my little squirter here. I'll put a little bit of dirty water on there and see what happens. Let it blow around a bit. That sort of pool in areas, and just knock it back. Adding more dimension. Yeah, you can see where that water just did that naturally. That's the idea. What I'm trying to do is like a water sort of spilling over the edge. I think that's good enough. We don't need to go too much more. All right, that'll do it for the rooftop. So now that we got the top part of this roof, it's got a little bit of aging on it. We used gray and some sort of like a beige off-white to give an aged effect on the roof tiles. The next bit I want to do is actually get into a little bit of flocking. What flocking is it's a light sort of hair that you put all over the surface of it, which is really great for like if you're doing like a miniature train setup or anything like that, like an old race car track, and you want that fine grass effect. You use flocking, which is a finely cut hair. And so what I'll do is I have to paint glue on there. So there's like this basing glue, which is great for sort of static grass is what this is. So we'll paint this glue similar to PVC glue, like wood glue. We'll paint it on using like a fine brush or like a foam brush will work really well. And then we'll coat the whole thing where we want grass on it or moss. That's what I'm trying to do, give it a bit of an aged effect with grass or moss. And we'll use this static grass from Pico. And basically what we do is we take the fibers, we'll fill this in, we'll turn this on, it's got a little 9-volt battery, and we'll connect it to the actual surface, and it'll give an electrical static charge. And so when I tap on this, the fibers will jump right to the glue that we put on there, and it'll stand straight up, and so we can coat the whole thing in a moss. I did a little test just to make sure it was gonna work. So I put it on a piece of the interior here, And you can see it's really fine. I don't really want it to be completely a moss covered thing, but spots I definitely do. And then I'll wipe some of it back and paint, whatever. But as you can see, it gives like a little grassy effect. If you can catch it in the camera, in the lighting. So yeah, it doesn't come off, it's glued on there permanently. I'll set that aside. So I'll start off painting it with the glue. Like I said, it's like a PVC type wood glue. It's white. And I'm gonna slather it on. Just a nice even coat, really. You just want the fibers to stick to the glue. And I'm just laying it right in there. Just like the real deal. Except this house was in the woods and it hasn't been maintained. Any extra, just put it on the sides. I've taken a bit of plastic bag and went around it just to save and clean up later. You'll see how much comes out. It's a nice coat on there. It's got like a bluish sort of hue to it. And then I'll lay it right on. There's other videos out there, I'm sure, of how to do train model flocking. It's one of these weird arts and crafts things. They used to flock all sorts of toys. That was like a trendy thing to kind of take a vase and flock it. Bizarre. See, right over the paint. It's all dry now, the paint. I'm laying it right on. Keep spinning it. Getting it on myself. Yeah, it's nice glue. It'll hold the fibers really well. A lot of times what people will do with this flocking is they'll put it on and they just leave it, which you're supposed to do, but we'll probably knock some of it back so it's not so uniform. You can get these little wands. I'll show the wand in a second. You can get them for about, in Australia here, you can get it for about 130 bucks, I think there are. Maybe cheaper. All right, so we got a good coat on the whole lot. I'll set that aside now. So we'll take this wand here and you open it right up. You can see a little basin. I'm just gonna put it right in there. Just a few scoops. And you put this back on. And then I have to even that out there. I'm going to clamp this on. And then I'll turn this on. And I'll get this so the camera can see. And I'll basically, you can see it jump. You can actually see the fibers jump to it. So it's statically charged. All these fibers will stick where I painted that glue. Now I'm going to switch it over. And get it on this side so it jumps to that better. Ooh, a bit heavy. It's heavy on the roof. I'm gonna brush that back. Woo. Out of my length here. Let's see, I'll do this. There, snow it on that way. Cool. I don't want it too heavy on that side. I want it just lightly covered. And I think I got it. I think that's where I want to be with it. Shut it off. I got plenty left. And what we'll have to do now is we have to actually wait for that glue to dry. But I'll give it you can see it possibly on the cameras over there. And I just need a little brush. Here we go. I'll just take a little brush. I'll knock some of it away. Just so it's not so perfect. It's a fun trick for train model setups. So if you need that fine grass, like a paddock, you can get the lengths of the fibers vary. So you can get long cut and short cut. I'm not really an expert on that sort of thing. I've used flocking for different applications. I'm just roughing it up. I'm not really interested in it being perfect. So that will dry and then stand by here. I'm going to add some more train model grasses and things. So later, once this dries, I'll take some of this really nice stuff here too, and I can emboss it in, implant it wherever I want, probably down around the actual bit of the house. I got another little box of goodies too, of grasses and whatnot. So here's more weird fake grasses and things that we'll put in there for vines. Overgrown, that's the look we're going for. So once this dries, we'll take a look, one more pass over it. I'll take all this down and you can kind of see how it all goes together. I just carefully brush that back. Probably not very nice thing to breathe, but. Yeah. Okay. So that's basically the flocking. It's a a flocking wand that's static charge, so it's got a 9-volt battery in there, so that gives a static electricity through the whole thing. A bit of glue, and then the flocking grass that you can get. Yeah, so that's basically what that's going to be. Cool. Okay, the glue is now dry, and what I'll do, I'll just peel this plastic off and see what we have. Now we have a very mossy roof. We still have to do a little bit of finessing with that. But I can just take, and I'll just brush off the top that I don't want. Looking very aged now. Ooh, that was a lot right there. That's good. That's fine. Like I said, I didn't want it to be completely green, but you have to kind of lay it on heavy. All right. I think I might do is I might try. I'll blow some of the stuff off. Add a little bit of black paint to it. And just give it a little bit of variety to that green. I think that looks pretty sweet. Like I said, I was showing before with this bit here, we can add that to, you know, all around the base of this, which would be a good sort of disguise. So if you had this onto a tabletop with a bunch of other grasses, it'll allow the whole thing to kind of mesh together. So I might do that for the next one. Or I might even put some on this rooftop here, which could be interesting as well. Break a little bit up, put some along the edge. Anyway, that's flocking with the wand, a little bit of the glue. You want to get that package together, and then some flocking hair. Okay. Thanks for watching.